Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Olivia Sua and this is my thesis proposal called I Give You a Butterfly. It's just dirt. My sister Isabella said to me as she crushed a teapot she had been making on the wheel. Dirt, transformed by her hands into a form to hold tea, then passed to me to be decorated with stories and symbols of our shared upbringing. It's almost as if what we hold in our hands is an extension of our lives. Like the clay we would squish in our hands that we found exposed by the rain while hiking, or her handwriting and mine on jars of cherry blackberry jam made during the summer. Growing up, I was a collector of things, stuffed animals, rocks, and magazines. I've always been very sentimental. I like to keep things that are given to me and that I've found. I've gone so far as to keep souvenirs from every year that I was in school growing up because I was so interested in who I would be in the future and at the possibility that I might look back on what I kept as an adult. So objects have a lot of importance to me. This is why for my thesis, I want to do the visual design for a dinnerware ceramics collection. I will decorate ceramic forms with imagery that is informed by the cultures of my parents, my connection to home, the landscapes of my upbringing, and the tales of my family's history, past and present. In ACT, I will be combining ceramics, illustration, and personal storytelling. Using the design methods of cut paper, screen printing, and watercolor masking, I will play with positive and negative space, symbolism, intense detail, and text. I will design the surfaces of plates, bowls, mugs, teapots, sugar bowls, and creamer dishes. Because ceramics are a human invention, made of clay and touched by the hands of our ancestors, there is something earthy and spiritual about them. My audience will be able to discern who I am, because I'm transcribing my visual diet into a ceramics collection. I first became interested in this topic because when I was around 16, I started collecting decorative plates. I was drawn to the idea that in the future I could use these objects for hosting parties and dinners for my friends and family. Ceramics serve mostly a utilitarian purpose, to hold the food which you are eating, but they can also serve a decorative purpose. Growing up, I saw expensive dinner sets, treasured wedding gifts, and vintage teacups displayed behind glass windows in a hutch or china cabinet. The purpose of the dinnerware collection inside was decorative, even a status symbol, only to be used during Christmas or another special celebration. I like that ceramics can be given such respect that a mundane object can function as a piece of art in the right settings. I'm really taking a lot of inspiration from Makoto Kagoshima, more on him later, who's an artist who elevates the everyday object. Some of my pieces will function more as art objects, to be displayed rather than used, and other pieces, like mugs, will be for everyday usage. When there are unlimited, fast, and cheap dinnerware objects in our stores, a mug that my sister made with her fingerprints in it that is hand-painted, it's more meaningful and sentimental to me than a mug from Target. As for the storytelling component of my thesis, I'm using the term storytelling loosely. There's not a specific tale that I'm trying to tell. Rather, it's more about moments of my identity all brought together. I'll explain. As I've really rounded out my identity as an artist in the last year, I found that so much of my identity is informed by my existence as a biracial and bicultural person. In being both Latinx and white, with a Colombian father and a South African mother, I've found that I express my cultural experience in my art. The home I grew up in was a typical Colombian house. It was painted yellow to match the color of the sun, had a red clay shingle roof, and an intricately carved wooden front door. Much of the art in our house was from South America. My parents collected a fake Botero painting of a nun, chiva buses, animal masks, sombrero volteados, a small sculpture of India Catalina, casitas típicas, and Inca figurines made of copper. My father said to me that the house was a way of artificially creating Colombia in the States, because he was so far away from it. To my family, it was home, in the mountains of the Snoqualmie Valley, in a Colombian house with an overgrown garden. This visual information has greatly informed how I illustrate. My illustrations are very personal, They are almost entirely themed by my experience. Nature scenes of mountains and the sea, quilts, flowers and leaves, cut paper, beading, glitter, and pattern. My artwork, as well as this thesis project, is informed by an amalgamation of the themes that I associate with my experience. Colombian, American, Washingtonian, woman, mixed, and artist are all names for my identity, but not one single thing defines me. A network of identity does. I'm also a fairly spiritual person. I feel that everything is connected and that there's no spheres of life that are separate, such as that between matter and mind or God and the world. So in my practice, I fixate over the meaning of colors, symbols, shapes, materials, and textures, and ponder how the art I make is connected to my family history, my life experience, and the people around me. So with all of that related to you, I can finally tell you my agenda, which is to create a unified dinnerware collection, to create objects that are a reflection of my identity, and to create something that is beautiful, that feels precious, and that would ideally become an heirloom. Something so distinct of my work is my use of symbols. I've really created a language of symbols that is informed by objects such as clovers, which stand for luck, or a spinning top, which stands for player or joker. Because I use so many symbols in my work, I will play to my strongest conceptual skill in my thesis, which is using visual synecdoche to communicate a personal mythology. Synecdoche is a figure of speech in which a part is made to represent the whole or vice versa. So if I use a symbol like a boat, it's recalling to me fond memories of being in Seattle by the sea. The tone of this project is decorative, patterned, naive, ethereal, and folksy, to further this idea of rich symbolism and coded storytelling. The concept of personal storytelling and ceramics is connected by sentimentality. They are my stories, and it will be so meaningful for me to have a project that really encapsulates how I want to work as an artist for the rest of my life. That is, an artist with a strong personal style, an artist that works with many different media, and an artist that brings joy with their image making. Since this thesis is so personal, I cannot imagine it living a mass-produced life. That feels too impersonal. Rather, I want my collection to be accessible to a large audience via online, via Etsy. This gives me the ability to share my story and my values with my customer. I feel very involved with the craft of my collection, so I conceive that they will be artisan products. I imagine that people like my friends and my family would use these plates, and that it might go well with the spaces that they live in. These people are young and mid-age adults who love sensuality, bold colors, taste, and lively music, strong emotions, parties held till late at night, and lots of dancing. The tables which they fill with food are illuminated by candlelight, and my plates hold a few last olives that get scraped into the mouth by hand. I cherish that those who have had a similar life experience to mine might notice my thesis. One keystone of my identity is that I grew up in Washington State around a lot of nature and wildlife. I hope that people who reside in the regions of the Pacific Northwest connect to the visual representation of the specific regional experience within my thesis. I anticipate that bicultural people will benefit from hearing my story and my approach to addressing dualism in art making. I hope that Latin people connect with my thesis because it's mostly art, design, craft, and ceramic history that I'm drawing from and historically researching, specifically the contemporary crafts of artisans from Mexico and Colombia. The scale of my project is 1 circular dinner plate design, 2 circular dessert plate designs, 2 mugs, 1 teapot, 1 creamer dish, and 1 sugar dish. They will all be ceramic dinnerware, not plastic. I need to make multiples of each piece so that I can have stock for the Etsy shop. I will make multiples of 3 for each piece. So if you didn't know me before now, and thank you for coming to my thesis, I need to let you know that I'm horrible at making ceramics. So I enlisted the help of my little sister to aid with that. Not too long ago, Isabella and I went to the glass building, and over 2 days we made teapots, creamer dishes, sugar bowls, and mugs that we hope to cast for my thesis. This thesis has a huge emphasis on craft. It felt like the form that I was decorating was equally as important as the designs applied, so Isabella and I chose these stocky, round forms to make. Collaboration is essential to many craft processes, and I'm really leaning into the expertise of those around me to help this idea come to life. In addition, I have shared so much of my life with my sister, from sharing the same room growing up to traveling alone together, that it's only natural that she would be a part of this milestone in my school career. My process for this project is to explore the patterns and designs that can be made from the positive and negative space of cut paper. I want to use traditional materials to give my work an imperfect analog feel. I plan on using a limited color palette of greens and browns on a cream-colored background. Think moss, olive, more yellow greens like Dijon, russet browns, terracotta, raw umber, and Payne's gray. Or, I plan to use a more full color palette of lilac, peach, turquoise, chartreuse, and brilliant greens among a dark navy, almost black background. The effect of these color palettes is that they will look like they're from nature, like colors that would be found in nature, which is really important to tie back into the concept of this thesis. Form-wise, I love round, almost crude, imperfect mugs and teapots. I want my plates to physically have a scalloped rim over the edge of the design to be scalloped. These forms recall simple farm life and a slow-paced attitude. This semester, I'm experimenting with creating molds and slip casting mugs and teapot forms. After I cast my forms, I plan to apply the designs onto the ceramics using the screen print underglaze process of Jason Big Burnett. I also have the choice of scratching, drawing, and painting onto the ceramics with underglaze. For my defense, I want to present my work as a gallery installation with the whole collection arranged and the space curated to show off my collection. I'm taking inspiration from Makoto Kagoshima's exhibitions to inform my defense space. I love that his exhibits are filled with light, hand-painted elements, and process work. I want to utilize the wall space of my defense room and decorate it with large-scale paper cutouts. This is a maquette of how the defense will look. Okay. I've been greatly influenced by 3 illustrators who have done similar ceramic projects: Vicky Lindo, Makoto Kagoshima, and Cornelia O'Donovan. These artists have bold, floral, figurative heavy styles and have worked or primarily work on ceramics. Lindo and Kagoshima illustrate their plates traditionally, whereas O'Donovan has done a project designing the surfaces of plates using watercolor, and then those designs were produced by Anthropology. From a design perspective, I'm influenced by Mexican papel picado, Swiss-German Scissorschnitt, Colombian palma riraca, European broderie anglaise lace, and contemporary fashion that uses scalloped edges. Most of these influences share the quality of being an object or material which light passes through. What I mean to say is that the holes in papel picado, or the spaces that designs are woven into palma riraca bags, light becomes a part of the artwork. The objects are very delicate, physically airy, and contrast highly to the space which they are hung, placed, or worn. To me, these qualities speak to nature's perfection, like that of spiderwebs. They also remind me of religious celebrations like weddings, with the smell of store-bought roses in the air and tying small bags of Jordan almonds. Now we can get into my work. My work takes on many forms. I like to push the limits of illustration. I've transferred to working mostly traditionally, and my work often takes on the form of mobiles, cut paper illustrations, screen prints, surface patterns, and product designs. For me, my art takes on the qualities of being a sacred object because so much time goes into making it. And there's an element of nature and image worship. And the act of making art is a ritual to document, express, and memorialize my life. I am so deeply formed by my experiences, and I wish to meditate upon what visual information defines me, but also what visual information makes me feel grounded to the earth, makes me feel like there is wonder in the world, and makes me curious about possibilities yet explored. I believe that in making artwork based upon this sentiment, that I will be able to bring about the same feelings of groundedness, wonder, and curiosity in others. Thank you all so much for viewing. It truly means the world to me, and I hope you really enjoyed my proposal. Thank you so much. Bye.